We got quite a bit of coaching moves to go over today. The Ravens continue to add to their coaching staff, especially on the defensive side. They just plucked Donald D'Alessio from the Kansas City Chiefs. He was on their team for 4 years and was their safeties coach for the last 3 years. He's won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, and before he was with the Chiefs, he spent the 2020 season as a defensive analyst at LSU. And prior to that, he spent 5 seasons with Youngstown State, where he spent time as their defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, and defensive quality control coach. D'Alessio is from Youngstown, Ohio. He was a defensive back at Youngstown State from 2010 to 2014. And now he's going to be promoted from safeties coach with the Kansas City Chiefs to defensive backs coach for the Baltimore Ravens. So never mad about plucking a defensive mind from the Chiefs, or any mind from the Chiefs, really, especially someone who's been tenured there. He's been with the Chiefs for 4 years. He's been their safeties coach for 3 years. So, spending 4 years with Kansas City, winning 2 Super Bowls, just having gone to another one. I mean, he definitely has a lot of experience. I'm not saying that he's coming in to lead the Ravens defense or anything, but I think this is a good hire. We've talked a lot about how the Chiefs retain the majority of their staff year after year, and I know this isn't the biggest name on the Chiefs or anything like that, but I definitely am not mad about the Ravens starting to take a couple of the Chiefs coaches and continue to stack out our coaching staff, because we've made a lot of coaching staff changes this year, especially on defense. We have a new linebackers coach that we've already replaced, and then we have 2 new secondary additions to hopefully bolster this pass defense that started out horrendous last year. But we've lost Chris Hewitt and Doug Mallory, and we have replaced them with Chuck Pagano and Donald D'Alessio. I still think a lot of the struggles with that pass game last year was the safety play. We noticed that once they made that switch midway through the season. But I'm not mad about getting some new coaching blood in here, bringing back Chuck Pagano, getting a mind from the Chiefs like Donald D'Alessio. I think these are good moves. We also are bringing on Dean Pease' son. We're adding assistant inside linebackers coach Matt Pease, who is the son of Dean Pease, who's currently in an advisory role for the Ravens. We hired him last year to help out with Zach Orr. His son's inside linebackers coach. Last year, he was a defensive analyst for the Bears, and he had previously been with Dean in Tennessee and in Atlanta. And then the Chiefs ended up kind of hiring one of our own, not from the Baltimore Ravens, but Zach Orr's brother, Chris Orr, got hired by the Kansas City Chiefs. Chris Orr was recently the linebackers coach for Jackson State. As a player, he was an all-Big Ten linebacker and team captain at Wisconsin, posting 78 tackles and 11.5 sacks in 2019. And then he played in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers. It's pretty cool that Zach Orr and his brother Chris Orr are getting so many coaching opportunities in the NFL at such an early age. I mean, these guys are young, man. This is not... I know we've seen a wave of young coaches in the NFL, so it's not, insane, but it's definitely something to point out and a credit to them. And it just kind of shows what kind of leader they are, what kind of defensive mind that they have to be getting these opportunities so earlier in their career, and wish nothing but success for Chris Orr, even though it's in Kansas City. We just took a coach from their defensive staff, so I guess it all equals out. And Chris Orr will be the linebackers coach, or whatever role he's going to have for Kansas City, and that'll be pretty cool when we're going against each other, and he'll get to be on the same field, or at least across the sideline from his brother, Zach Orr, who's obviously the defensive coordinator of the Ravens. So congrats to the Orr family, man. That's big. That's something special, and both of them are on the rise for sure. Now let's jump into some Q&A from you guys. I haven't done Q&A in the last few videos. We've been having some pretty full videos, but got a little room in this one, so let's look and answer some questions. We got one from Dar_Thit Stank. I don't know. What would be the other option if we don't get Myles Garrett and besides Khalil Mack? Yeah, Myles Garrett's definitely unlikely. I think we're all pretty aware of that. Khalil Mack is definitely an option in free agency at edge. So looking at the other edges that I'd be interested in, Josh Sweat's a free agent. I think he's going to probably cost too much. I don't think the Ravens are going to be big spenders at all in free agency unless it's retaining a Ronnie Stanley or something. But I don't think the Ravens are going to be out spending a lot of money early in free agency, and Josh Sweat's probably going to get a decent contract. Other guys that kind of jump out for value that I wouldn't mind adding is DeMarcus Lawrence. I know he's coming off an injury. He only played 4 games, but that's why I think we could find some value there. Hassan Reddick kind of ruined his value last year. I'm not sure he really plays like a Raven, to be honest with you, and he's kind of been about his money, so I don't really think that's a realistic opportunity, but he's a name out there. Matt Judon return. I don't think it moves the needle a ton, but I wouldn't be shocked. We could find a way to get Clowney back. I think Chase Young could be an interesting option. I know there's a lot of people saying that they question his motor and leadership. I don't think you would question that in Baltimore. We heard all the same things about Clowney. Clowney before he got here was not a hard worker and, a selfish player and blah, 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 blah. And he never produces. And then he had a career year with Baltimore, kind of like we're seeing with Van Noy. Not that Van Noy wasn't producing. I don't want to put him in the same category, but I'm just saying guys who haven't shined recently doesn't mean that they can't shine in Baltimore. And I think Chase Young is one of those freak athletes like Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, these guys are top picks in the NFL draft. This is not, a regular player. They are freak athletes. And you got to wait until you can get them at value because the Ravens usually don't go spend a lot. So Chase Young's kind of interesting. I just think his upside with Baltimore could be crazy. And his value has definitely came down a little bit from years ago. So that's kind of an interesting name that sticks out there. I really don't think the Ravens are going to be big spenders in free agency at all, to be honest with you. We don't have a lot of money. We got to clear a lot of money. If we are going to shell out 15, 20 million for a guy, I think it's going to be Ronnie Stanley. We got one from Richboy9968. Hey Ryan, what part of Maryland you from and what high school you went to? So I was born in Baltimore, moved quickly when I was really young to Harford County. So I grew up in Abingdon and then Edgewood. I lived in Edgewood for middle school. I went to Edgewood Middle School. And then I was raised by a single mom. My mom moved across the border to Pennsylvania. So I lived in York, Pennsylvania, and went to high school in this little town called Dover. So Dover High School is where I went. So I didn't go to high school in Maryland, but I went to middle school in Maryland at Edgewood Middle and lived in Maryland for 14 years, and then lived in Pennsylvania for a little bit, and then packed my car up after college and just drove all the way across the country by myself with no plan. Ended up hitting California, lived in San Diego, lived in LA for a few years, made music videos and a bunch of music. And I've been around, man. But Maryland is always home, will forever be home. I got family still there. I still come back every single year. And I'm not writing out that I would never return there long term, but still on the move, still feel young, still kind of want to travel the country and see the world a bit and just kind of expand my surroundings. So I'm still a traveling man right now. I don't know where I'm gonna end up, but man, Maryland's always been home. Ravens are in my heart forever. And then the last question for today from Sarapi Zoski 4133. How do you feel about the Luka and LeBron trade? I like the sports switch out, man. I'm a sports junkie. I'm a diehard Wizards fan in basketball. So I thought about starting a Wizards channel. I'm just as much into the Wizards. Well, I guess not quite just as much because the Wizards are, it's tough to watch every single game right now in the rebuilding phase. But I'm still excited about it. I'm a diehard sports fan. So Luka LeBron trade, absolutely insane, man. I feel like the Lakers robbed Dallas. I don't know why Dallas did that. I know it might make them in the next 2-year window, still have a chance for a championship, but then AD gets hurt right away. He's got a huge injury history. I don't know why you would get rid of Luka, unless it's financially related. Dallas put out a narrative that he lacks work ethic and conditioning. Like, whatever, man. This guy was just in the NBA Finals last season. He's 25. If he needs to condition a little more, just tell him. Just get him in a different program. Like it's not a big deal. I don't know why you would be concerned long term. This guy's gonna absolutely ball in LA, and especially being with LeBron, I think he's gonna learn a ton. I don't know how long LeBron's got left, probably a year or two, but Luka's about to learn a ton and probably increase that work ethic and body discipline and everything. And I think the Lakers are going to be a destination and a team for the next decade now if they can keep Luka Doncic. You know, I think that was a massive trade for them. And Dallas long term is not looking as good. I don't think after these next couple years that Dallas is going to be a contender. And so, yeah, I wouldn't have made that trade if I was Dallas. I definitely understand why LA made that trade, and the big markets are thriving again. You know, you heard Giannis talk about how he's so happy that the European guys are going to the big markets so they can get exposure, and that Jokic or him need to go to the Knicks or whatever. Like, I hope the big markets don't all just stack up again, man, because like I said, I'm a Wizards fan. Hopefully we get the number 1 pick, and we'll be a contender at some point. Hopefully, I'm praying. But yeah, no, Luka LeBron trade crazy. One of the craziest trades I've ever seen in my entire life. But that's it for this episode, guys. Appreciate you as always for tuning in. Keep dropping questions in the comments. Ask me anything at all. I appreciate you guys as always for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.